Great, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about the incidences initiating the formation of the home-based business. And this is on page 435 of the article. And here's the chart, but I'm just going to discuss it with you. Okay. So in their method, I kind of ask people some questions, what kinds of things launch them. And I'm just going to summarize the results of this table. So looking at work and personal experience, so they say, did someone get enough experience that they felt comfortable launching their home-based business? And out of the 21 respondents, 13 individuals said that, yes, that had something to do with their launching a home-based business. Not bad, a little more than half. The same number, 13, also said that they, over time had developed confidence to launch a home-based business. So they have the skill, they've got the confidence. Slightly less, 12, said that they desired self-autonomy or self-employment. In other words, they wanted to be their own boss. So a little less than half again. 10 said that they were going into home-based businesses to have an improved lifestyle or flexible hours. Only four said that they went into a home-based business due to their age. In other words, they were probably too old to have a regular job. 6 said they were doing it for domestic or family care arrangements, i.e. taking care of a child or an aging parent. And interestingly, only 5 out of 21 said that a desire to make income or more money was their reason to launch a home-based business. Isn't that interesting? 7 said that they were exposed to a redundancy, which is a British term for getting laid off. They got laid off from their job, therefore they were almost a necessity-based entrepreneur, right? They didn't have any employment. 7 also said that their employer offered them a freelancer contract. In other words, they had a full-time job somewhere and their employer said, you know what? You can work for us as a consultant. Okay, so they launched a home-based business that way. The same number also talked about other offers of freelance work. Maybe competitors offered them the chance to consult for them. Personnel changes and restructuring was another 7. That was another reason. So again, getting laid off. 6 people went into home-based businesses because they said they were unhappy with their current employer. They discovered or they created a new niche. That was only 5. Their sector changed in some way. That was 3 people. What's a sector change? I remember when I was a kid, I had a neighbor, and he had been in the Army, and he was a typist in the Army. In other words, he knew how to operate a typewriter. And when typewriters went away, he left the Army to become a real estate agent. That's an example of a sector change. And a relationship might have ended. In other words, they got a divorce or something like that. That was 2. Okay, now these are not mutually exclusive. These are all, they could attribute anything that they want. It's not like they had to just say one or the other. But this is quite interesting, right? This is not quite what you thought it would be for launching a home-based business. And what I like about this particular, they've given you the numbers, but they've also explained and they've given some kind of dialogue, right? So let's talk about having accumulated skills and knowledge as well as experience and confidence to start to go it alone in business. I think this is huge. So one of the interviewees said that he worked as a product designer for 15 years and he knew the trade. He had the knowledge, but starting his business was a whole nother ball game that he had to learn to play, so he had to start learning the rules. So he felt good about actually knowing how to be a product designer. He knew that, but he didn't know how to be a business person. But at least he only had to learn one new skill. Another interviewee made this statement, that she'd always had the ambition to work for herself, but even with the skills, it took her years to get the confidence to actually make the jump from working for her former employer to being an entrepreneur. In other words, yes, she knew all the business stuff, but it took years to develop the confidence that, I can do that too. So it takes time, and this can help you understand why a lot of older people actually go into entrepreneurship, right? Even sometimes, especially in many countries, it's actually the rate of older people becoming entrepreneurs is becoming more than the rate of younger people becoming entrepreneurs. Another thing that I like in this article is they give some quotes talking about how entrepreneurs developed professional and personal networks, right? So Here's one. It says, the real challenge for me was the nuts and bolts of starting the business. I had no idea. It was the support of my partner and an accountant who I knew that saw the business become a reality. Okay? So they had to get help from outside. And this really contrasts with this lone wolf entrepreneur idea, right? So much of an entrepreneurial venture is the result of collaboration from many, many different people. It's not just you doing it all by yourself. Here's another interesting quote. At the point when my former employer gave me the option of working on a consultancy basis, I jumped at it. I knew there was work out there, and I found myself a solicitor, an accountant, and I was literally in business. So the employer said, we don't want to use you full-time anymore. How about you work for us as a consultant? Okay. Here's another one. One guy said, at my age, I was unlikely to get another job, so I started my own company. Okay. Looking at, and that's necessity-based entrepreneurship, obviously. Looking at a change in family circumstances. So this one's tragic. With my other half working away a lot, I couldn't do a 9-to-5 with young children, so working for myself and being based at home was a perfect condition. In other words, to look after children. Another one, and I've seen this happen before, she said she used maternity leave to provide a low-risk basis to establish her home-based business. She said, I was on maternity leave having my second child. I did think about starting a business when I had my first child, but I wasn't confident enough. But this time, I started my maternity leave early and set up working freelance. I was determined to make it work, and I did, and I knew I could go back to work if things didn't work out. I mean, what a nice safety net. I worked with a guy who was on disability for a while. He had a terrible accident at work, and he probably shouldn't have been doing this, but he used the time that he was getting disability payments to start his own restaurant. Fortunately, his employer didn't find out. Another interviewee talked about how her personal life changed and gave her the strength to become self-employed. She said, it happened at once, really. I was pregnant, split with my partner, and need to make a living. At the time, I didn't see it as a choice. I just had to do it. That's necessity, entrepreneurship, and action. Okay. Now, another example of necessity-based entrepreneurship is as follows. This interviewee says, I couldn't go on working for such a low wage, especially since I knew I was worth more. So I said to myself that I would work as hard as I needed to, so I didn't need to be an employee. If that meant working 100 hours a week, then that's what I do, because it was lining my pocket and not theirs. So they were too poor in their current position, right? We got that. But they were also willing to do whatever it takes, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs are not going to make money that first 3 years. So this is huge, right? You know, it's determination and it's guts. Great. So in our next video, we're going to talk about why some of the respondents, so we've talked about why they became entrepreneurs, but now we're going to talk about why they chose the home as a great location for an office. And this is on page 439 for those of you who are following the article. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give me the thumbs up. That's also like a like. You can subscribe and you can comment down below. Great. I'll see you next time.